Folks, we have emergency podcast, you could call it, early release, you could call it, but obviously Phil Mickelson just won the PGA Championship, so we wanted to get our reactions out immediately, that and the LTP and all the other things going on. So we're back. We're here to talk golf, and we're here because of Owen's Mixers, which these fellas were at a nice little, you could call it a meet and greet, if you will, down in Charleston. Is that what we're calling it,
We've transitioned. I was going to try and say transfused, but we transitioned into a watch party.
Yep.
Because the meet and greet just didn't sound right. What it was we met fantastic people down in Charleston. We greeted them, and then we all watched the Islander game. We watched some golf, and it was a lot of fun. Shout out to the bars down there, Uptown Social, really good spot. Shout out to Owen's Mixers, who put on a great event there. Josh threw out the first pitch at the Charleston River Dogs game, threw a fucking ball, and he says it was a strike. I watched it on video. It was just a ball, and the announcer said, and a strike from Josh. It was just high and outside. But what a great guy that guy is. His whole crew, awesome. Loved every single part of it. Loved being down there. Frozen transfusions, game changer.
Yep.
So if you can start figuring out how to start mixing in some ice into a nice little blender, and you can figure that out for the summer times, I mean, we're talking tasty and refreshing, man. I mean, it's like drinking a Slurpee. So Owen's Mixers couldn't have had a better time down there. Perfect partner to be at a meet and greet with, because they are tasty, and they did go down nice.
So Owens, it is great. Available on Amazon. You can look for Owens Transfusion. They got a huge price drop for the product. Amazon Prime, one-day ship anywhere in the country. Perfect for really anything. Obviously, we're coming up on, it's summertime, so people are out having refreshing cocktails. But get yourself involved in the Owens game. They've been supporting us for a long time, and we've been supporting them because they just make really good stuff that gives you awesome cocktails. So big thanks to Owens. Let's talk some golf. Fore players by Barstool Sports. Phil Mickelson has just won his 6th major championship, which ties him for 12th all time. We had one of the more iconic scenes in my life of watching golf, coming up the 18th hole, the crowd jumping in, a la Tiger at Eastlake, Tiger at the Old Course at St. Andrews in 2000. It was awesome. Phil was taking deep breaths, playing as slow as he's ever played. You could tell that he had this whole system, and he was locked in, and he never really veered away from it. One that we will talk about, think about, reference probably for the rest of our lives. Gentlemen, what a week. There's a lot going on, a lot to break down, from the LTP Classic to the PGA Championship to, again, one of the most iconic wins that we'll probably ever witness, to be honest with you.
Frankie and I were out at Kiawah earlier this week, and we watched Phil for a good amount of time on one of the days when we were out there, Tuesday or Wednesday, when you're really on the range, trying to talk to guys, whatever. I think the word Frankie and I would use when watching Phil was lost. Like, it just didn't look like he had it, or he was really grinding over something, and he seemed in a bit of a daze. And Frankie and I were like, oh, there's just no way, he's going to continue to not play well, and this just might be the phase of the career that Phil is in. And then he won the fucking thing. He won the PGA Championship in historic fashion, which just goes to show that golf makes zero sense. Absolutely none. But it's a win we'll be talking about for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, it was a couple things I'll take away from it right off the jump, is that, we were there, man.
Not the hip.
No, firing from the hip is what I wanted to say. And
You're going to fire from the hip.
Just shooting, right off the jump. What I want to tell you guys, you don't like the jump thing?
No, shooting right from the jump doesn't work.
Okay. You never heard that one? We're going to hit it right from the jump?
I don't think anybody's heard
No
that.
one has.
Right from the jump. Like, yeah, we're going right from the jump, but you don't shoot right from the jump.
Okay.
So
So
we're
we're
going
going
to
to
go right from the hip, or you go right from the jump. I don't think you shoot from the jump.
We've now done a little investigation work here. We've now figured out that I was saying shoot from the jump, shoot from the hip, right from the jump. I combined them. I said the wrong thing.
Did you guys know? Did you guys know, like, the best horse archers of all time? Especially, this goes back to like the Mongol Empire and the Mongols. They were so good that when they would shoot their arrows, they would time it perfectly when the horses, all 4 legs are off the ground, because it's perfectly flat and not bumpy.
I don't even know how to process that. What I do want to say.
Think about that. Think about how good you got to be to do that.
It's insane.
Anyways.
It's absolutely preposterous. What I want to say is that we were there, and it does suck that, like, Trent and I were on the grounds for maybe one of the most historic major wins of all time. The oldest win, 50 years old, Phil Mickelson, the lefty, one of my idols out there, a lefty golfer who is like one of very few, and he is such a legend. God, it just watching that crowd swallow him and Brooks on 18. I was just like, fuck, man, we could have been right there, but our decision was when we go to majors, most of the time it's just easier for us to consume it on TV so that we can take it in just like our fans and everyone else that like legit all the fans of golf do. And boy, was it a good watch on TV. I fucking love Phil Mickelson. I will say, before we go to Lurch, I said to you, Trent, we were on the driving range maybe Wednesday or Tuesday, and we're looking at all these superstars. Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, fucking Brooks Koepka, all these guys are right in front of us. And all the way to the left was Phil Mickelson doing his weird breathing exercises. Not that many people were around him. He was just like over there with his brother and his coaches. And I said to Trent, I said, isn't it fucking insane? I think Eamon Lynch was there too. And I'm like, isn't it insane that Phil Mickelson is just not talked about anymore? Like, one of the most iconic golfers of our lives is on the edge of that driving range right now, and not one person in this group is looking at him. We're all just fixated on these other guys, and he was over there hitting bombs, hellacious seeds, all these things that he says, drinking his coffee. The guy fucking went out and won the PGA Championship.
Dude, we're all ready to put him out to pasture. We were like, just go play on the Champions Tour. You already won twice there. You can beat up on those old guys. You're just too old for the stallions and the studs on the PGA Tour. Just go do that. That'll be a great living. You'll make a decent amount of money, and that'll be it. And then you're right. He just won the PGA Championship. Like, I honestly, I haven't even processed it yet because it's that crazy.
I thought he was going to go into a sales pitch when he won. He's standing on the green. He was talking about like longevity and eating the right things. I didn't know if he was going to do a little name drop there. But yeah, today, I mean, I was crazy, traveling salesperson, so I didn't get to see much of the golf early on. But then seeing Phil like duck hook one yesterday into the water, and then to start the round today, Brooks makes a birdie, Phil makes a bogey, and you're like, oh, this thing, it could just slide away from him right out of the gate. And then Brooks makes a 7, and he just, honestly, everybody kind of fell away from Phil, and all the pieces came into place. And the guy he won the PGA Championship at Kiawah, where you think you need like crazy length and just not somebody who's 50 plus can win this thing. He won it. It's honestly spectacular. And him walking up was mayhem. That was like, COVID's over. What the hell are we watching? It was honestly crazy, but it was great TV there to close it up.
All right, so a couple things I was going to say. One, everybody wants to compare it to 2019 Tiger, which there's a lot of reasons too. One of the huge differences was that like Tiger Woods was building up to it. Tiger Woods had nearly won a couple major championships in a row. He had won at Eastlake. It made sense that he kind of was crescendoing at the Masters and won. Phil Mickelson hasn't finished inside the top 20 this year. Like, Phil Mickelson is legitimately winning more on the senior tour. And last time there was a PGA Championship, Phil Mickelson was more likely this year to be in the booth with Nick Faldo than he was to be winning the championship. And that's not even an exaggerated statement. That's a fact. Like, everyone was talking about how Phil did his debut. He was chirping Nick Faldo last year at Harding Park. He was great. This is going to be looked at as like a transition period for Phil, where he plays a little bit on the senior tour, and then he jumps in the booth, and it's a hoorah. It's great. Like, take him essentially take him out to pasture. He's just on his way out the door, and it's great. And then he just won the fucking PGA Championship out of nowhere. And to Lurch's point, the golf course could not set up worse for Phil Mickelson. Like, I just saw Bones came on before, during the 30-minute window when we were trying to start this podcast and my audio issues wouldn't work. And he's like, I've been telling people forever that Phil Mickelson will win a major in his 50s. He's like, but I always said it would be the Masters. He said, because you can just spray it all over Augusta's green earth, and it's not a problem down there. At Kiawah Island with crosswinds, crazy winds the whole week, they're changing in your face. You just have to keep the ball in play. The second that you don't, you make a double or triple. We saw it all week long where guys are playing well. They got a good round going. One bad tee shot, you're completely fucked, and it's over. Phil Mickelson's been known for being one of the most erratic drivers for a really, really, really good player in the history of the game. And then he went out to Kiawah Island and was just hitting bombs. Like, he hit a 366-yard missile on, I believe that was like the 15th hole today. That was the longest, or 16th hole. That was the longest tee shot on that hole of the entire day. Longer than Bryson, longer than Brooks. Like, so for him to do that at age 50, it's amazing, this game. And it really reminds you that, like, that talent that's in there in this game can come out at any moment. Like Tom Watson, it came out when he was 59. Obviously, it came out like for Tiger the last couple of years. Phil Mickelson. Stewart Cink's playing like the best golf of his career. We see Lee Westwood's playing like the best golf of his career. So it's crazy that it can just come out and that you can compete at that age against these guys. But Phil out of the clouds and that scene on 18, easily a top 5, maybe top 2 golf tournament for me that I've ever watched.
Yeah, it was that wasn't the scene at the end was incredible, and I was rooting for like good golf down the stretch. So Brooks had been missing it left all day, and then he ripped one on whatever that was. I think it's 16. And then when you saw Phil's ball just roll by his, you were like, "What the hell is this about?" And then obviously, what I want to talk about is the fans were 100% for Phil. It's just a crazy story, lefty on this charge. Was that the third or fourth hole that like he pulled it into the fans? And then what was that scene about? Like I wanted to see footage of that. It hit somebody. I guess a little kid picked it up and dropped it. I mean if that's Patrick Reed, what are we even talking about here? Like what the hell transpired in that?
So what was the story that a woman picked it up, which if you're picking up golf balls at the PGA Championship, what's happening? Like, why? The one thing you can't do when you're out there is be picking up golf balls. So that a woman or a child picked it up and then dropped it? Is that what I'm understanding?
I think it was a child that picked it up and dropped it. And then it was like a nervous dad that shot into the camera. But with all the footage around, and obviously it's Phil's ball, he's the leader of the championship. Like, there's no camera of, like, what happened over there. I can't believe that. I want to see something of what's going on over there so badly.
Yeah, you would wonder why. Like, yeah, I don't know why. Like, what would be the reason to not show the footage, right? Like, if they, like, would they really go out of their way to like
Phil
cheat
gets a
for
place
Phil?
after that?
That's
It was crazy. But then after that, he got a lift clean in place. It was like, I mean, that's a ridiculous outcome for pulling the ball left. I couldn't believe that those were the rules. And I think at that point, Brooks was like looking for something. I think he was in the middle of the fairway. Phil was certainly taking his time. The deep breaths when they would pan to Phil and he had those outrageous glasses on and he's doing these like full body breaths like he's going through almost like a yoga class. And then, that was happening at that same moment. And Koepka's out there like, all right, let's pick it up. This is effing ridiculous.
Right, by not showing the footage, you allow us to all say exactly what we're saying now. Like, what happened over there then, right? Like, obviously nothing happened, but I even tweeted out, what would have happened if everyone was in on the joke, like, oh yeah, like we picked it up and now you just get to do it. What would happen to Phil Mickelson? Does he get like disqualified if we find out that no one touched his ball, he lifted it up, cleaned it? Or is that just like you're at the mercy of fans? Because at that point, then where is that line? Can you just be on your own in the bunker and be like, oh yeah, someone said they actually came in, picked it up, dropped it, and I just like picked up the ball, cleaned it because like that's, you know what I mean? Like where does it actually, are we just listening to fans all the time now? Like that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's on some level, you're right. Like there's got to be an edge that we get to. So I think that like you can't blame Phil. Like if that's the information he was given, then he brought a rules official over. I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. I saw a lot of people tweeting about it. But who knows? I don't know why they don't have footage. They gotta have footage somewhere. They have cameras fucking everywhere.
Yeah, but yeah, Phil Mickelson winning this fucking major championship. It makes this sport that we all love to play, watch, enjoy, just that much more outrageous that a 50-year-old can win at the highest level of this sport. Like the fact that we all just love to watch these young guys, Victor Hovland's and the Justin Thomases and the Jordan Spieths, all these young studs on tour, the Zalatoris's who take the game by storm. You have a 50-year-old out here. In any other sport, that guy is like almost a little too old to be a manager. You know what I mean? Like this is getting out. Right. That's a number that he's half a century old, and he's out there playing at the highest level, beating everyone, out driving them. What does that say? Does that say anything about the sport? Like, I don't understand how that's possible, right? I understand it's not a physical sport, but like at some point, like today it was. He was out driving Brooks Koepka, who posts Instagram stories prior to the round, which was like a weird thing I've never seen a guy do, of him doing like bench presses and fucking like deadlifts and shit. Never seen a professional golfer do that. He's such a fucking meathead, it's nuts. But the fact that 50-year-old Phil Mickelson's out here doing that is just, I don't know. What do you guys think about like what that says about this sport?
Well, I would say golf forever has been touted as a sport where you can play and like compete basically your whole life, like in the handicap system and all. Now this takes it to a whole nother level, like just beating beating the best golfers in the world at the age of 50. But like you see it pop up occasionally. That's why they keep like referencing the Tom Watson. We all like have matches against our dads, and they might have bad hips or bad knees or whatever. But like you can kind of play golf for a really long time. Now, can you hit the ball as far as like Phil's hitting it at age 50 without doing insane work? Like I don't think so. I think that he was kind of talking in his presser about the hard work. Like he chased distance. He did his ridiculous bits for the last year about like hellacious seeds and hitting bombs and all of his ridiculousness. But like clearly I think there was an underlying truth to it. If he was like, no, I need to learn how to hit bombs because all these young guys out here are being meatheads like Brooks Koepka or like DJ or like Bryson, and he's got to figure it out. So it's always going to be a little bit counterintuitive and a little contradictory, like because we tout the young guys. Like last year, 23-year-old Collin Morikawa like won the PGA, and everyone's like, yeah, it's a young kid's game. And Spieth had his run when he was like 22, 21, where he's winning major championships. But the old guys in golf, they always seem to fucking hang around, and I think it'll be like that forever.
Yeah, and Mickelson is old, but he's also in the best shape of his life. Like fitness and health have come such a long way in sports where they asked him during his post-press conference, like, what has it really taken, or what have you had to cut out of your life to allow you to perform at such a high level at this age? And he just said food. He was like, I had to cut out food, things that I love, because if my body is not in shape, I just have no chance. And obviously, Phil is incredibly talented, one of the most talented guys to ever play the game. But if you improve your fitness, there's no telling what you can do when you're 50, 55. So it's obviously surprising. He's the oldest major champion winner of all time. But given that he is in the best shape of his life, he takes care of himself, he drinks whatever the fuck is in that coffee. I've seen the ingredients and it's crazy. But he's clearly extremely healthy. So the chances of this happening are as good as they've ever been. But it's still stunning that he's 50 years old and he's beating guys like Brooks.
Would you like an easier way to play golf, book tee times, find a course? The answer is the Barstool Golf Time app. I actually use the Barstool Golf Time app pretty much every day because I go out, I check out courses. I'm on the Desert Golf Tour. I want to see which courses in the Scottsdale, Arizona area, folks should play. So I go out, I film, I do the Rigs versus this course videos, and I need to figure out which course I want to go. I want to see the ratings, I want to see reviews, I want to know what to get into, how far it is, what the prices are. And the Barstool Golf Time app delivers all of that, gentlemen.
Yeah,
sure does.
It's just a no-brainer. You need tee times, and you need to be able to book them, and we now deliver that product for you. It's called the Barstool Golf Time, Barstool Golf Time app.
Yep.
It is a tee time app. We all use it now, like Rig says.
That is what it's called.
The reviews are fantastic. I use it for the pizza reviews. Now we're going to use it for golf, for the golf reviews. I love being able to see what the condition of the golf course is from the people, not the golf course, right? Because you never know if you're getting swindoozled or caboozled by the golf course. You know that the real people, the golfers, the patrons, are going to give it to you straight. If it is dried out or the greens aren't rolling or maybe they were just punched, you're going to find out. We need to get the reviews going more on the Barstool Golf Time app because the more data we get, the more information that everyone else will have. So start downloading it, start using it. Let's get this thing to the moon. Let's take it to the moon. And now we have promotions. We have rewards. So we're going to have rewards kicking off here. So make sure that you guys get in on this so that you can have the rewards and you don't miss out on it. Yeah,
so the rewards program, it's now available. Book rounds and submit course reviews to build rewards and get exclusive Barstool Merge discount. You're going to receive 25 points for every player you pay for when you book your tee times. For example, if your tee times for 4 players, boom, you receive 100 points for that booking. Be sure you come back after your round, tell people about your experience at the course, earn 25 points for a written review or 50 points for a video review. If it lines up with the course you have booked in the app, we'll mark your post as a verified review. Everybody likes to be verified. You're going to earn these reward points one time per course you have booked through the app with the same account. And then these points, my friends, are going to add up, and you are going to be able to get all kinds of merchandise discounts and get hooked up with Barstool Golf stuff. So So use the app. It's awesome. And even if it's extremely awesome. It's actually an added bonus that you're going to get rewards because you should be using it anyways. But get the Barstool Golf Time app because it's fantastic.
If you have to book tee times, which you have to, and you want to purchase our merch, which like hopefully you are if you're listening to the show and you're supporting the cause, why not just book the Tee Time app with this Tee Time app? So then you're just going to get the best of both worlds. Start racking up those points because we will throw in rewards. Like I want to know who the guy with the most points in the Barstool Golf Time app is. Like that should be like a big thing. Like if you are at the end of the year, if you have thousands of points, like I want to know who you are and I want to give you a shout out and maybe like we'll go eat Borelli's pizza together. Like that could maybe be like a tier, like you come, I'll bring you to Borelli's, we'll have Detroit style pizza, maybe we'll go pay the Bethpage Black or something. Like if this guy is playing that much golf with that many reviews and that many photos, I want to meet him. Guy or girl, I want to meet them.
I agree. I very much agree. So rack up those rewards. Go use the Barstool Golf Time app. Book tee times. Let's go.
Do you think it's because of the wind? Like when Tom Watson made his run at the Open, it was obviously gusty and windy. Here it was very windy. So like playing into the wind is a debilitator for all, and playing downwind allows for him, to hit those bombs way up in the air and his ball floats down. So do you think the wind is potentially a big factor? Because like on a day-to-day where there's not much wind, you're playing in the back like any other course, right? They still have 200, 230 in or whatever the case may be. And that might be tough for them over the long time. But I'm just saying courses going into the wind when you're playing in, everybody's kind of screwed. Playing downwind, it negates natural, power that is needed. Because Koepka was still a club or two longer than them. Every time that they were close, Koepka was hitting, 7-iron. He was hitting 5-iron or something like that.
I think there's probably something to the conditions being a contributor. Right, like because the older guys with the experience and whatnot, when it's windy, like everybody's kind of missing greens and nobody really has the accuracy. And I think that like scoring, like I'm putting air quotes out if you're not watching on YouTube, but like just scoring your golf ball, which is like a talent in golf. And I know that sounds really obvious, like scoring, but you know what I mean, like. That you can just figure out a way to get the ball in the hole a little bit better than the other guys, even though you might not hit it as far, you might not hit as many fairways, you might not hit as many greens, but like the mixture of it is like, well, that's actually what golf is. And when you take a lot of those elements out, it kind of becomes a little bit more scientific like Bryson does, where you just roast it down there, you have a shorter iron in all the time, and there's very little kind of like X factors that you can't control, and so you're just going to eventually win. Numbers just win in that. Whereas I think like artistry and skill maybe win when it's windy because it throws a lot of that shit out. There's a little bit more guesswork. And when you have the people that are kind of natural field players that are older and experienced, like Tom Watson and Turnberry, like, he knows that course like the back of his hand. And he's been talking ever since then about how when the wind switched, he knew other people were fucked because like he knows those winds. And same maybe with Phil, where it's like, he can just get the ball in the hole after having done it for 40 years, 30 years, like professionally. I think there could definitely be something to that.
It's the dumbest argument of all time. And just as a contrarian and playing devil's advocate, I want to bring this up because I think what happened this weekend kind of adds fuel to these people's fire. But you have the argument where it's like golf is not a sport, it's a hobby, right? And like anyone can play. You can play against your grandfather and you can lose. And they'll compare it to football and hockey and baseball and all these sports where they're more athletically gifted. And we've talked about that all the time. Is Tiger Woods the best athlete of all time? And what constitutes that? Do you think that Phil Mickelson coming out here and winning a major at the age of 50 actually hurts the argument that like, it actually is an easier sport to go out there and you don't have to be as athletically gifted and you don't have to be as strong and powerful and skillful as the other sports because a 50-year-old can go out there and beat the best people in the world at that sport?
I would say no, because that 50-year-old is considered now probably like one of the top 10 players to ever play the game. So it's like, like on some level.
It's rare.
Right.
Yeah. Like that, he's literally the oldest to ever do it.
Like if 50-year-olds win, like if they sweep majors one year, then maybe we can have that conversation. But it's like, I don't think that's going to happen. Like Phil even said during his press conference where he legitimately said, this could very easily be the last win of my career. He's saying, I hope it's not. Hopefully I had a breakthrough here with some of my swing thoughts and the way that I played today. but he does not think that this is likely going to continue. And I think that it's going to be a very long time before we see another 50-year-old win a major.
So this is like what you're saying. This is like a Jamie Moyer, one of those old school baseball pitchers that would go out there in a World Series game, like a 43-year-old pitcher would go out with an 87-mile-an-hour fastball and somehow like shut out the Yankees and win a World Series game. Like that's, I guess it's like a once in a blue moon. This old fucking guy can come out there and beat the young kids. So yeah, all right. I just wanted to place that because I know there's a part of people's brains that I feel like this like is that like it solidifies it, but I was gonna say solidification. That can't be the word.
Validification. Remember when I tried to say validify?
So yeah, but like there is,
I think
the way I was saying that sentence, solidification. It solidifies to them like like fucking. You know, my dad could go out there and fucking do it. You know what I mean? Even though their dad's not fucking Phil Mickelson, but their dad also can't be the slot receiver for the New York Jets. You know what I mean?
I think it's more of a testament to Phil than to other 50-year-olds.
Okay.
Like I think him doing it is impressive.
Yeah, just thought it had to be said.
It's not.
Yeah,
no, it's
and
fair.
I think there's definitely an aspect of golf that's got longevity as part of golf, where it's not with other games. Like it's one of the only games where you play the game itself. You know, you don't play against somebody else that's like getting in the way of you playing that game. And I think if, you know, someone you're going to bring like, you know, Bo Jackson was that football player that people thought like, is he going to come back? And like, he was like making claims he was going to come back at 50. Like, that's ridiculous. Your body just ages. There's no way that you, right. He played, but to 40, what? Like
Still
Chelios played to 41. I know, but like,
right.
You can see those guys taper off. Chelios went back to the AHL, which is crazy, making all that money in the NHL and then go ride buses again. It's just, but yeah, like that's just insane. But golf has that aspect where it is longevity. Like Phil isn't going trying to beat up Bryson. That just physically, that's going to be tough. Like I'm not saying he can't do it, but that's going to be
He's
tough.
Looking pretty good.
Where in golf you play the course, you know, and that's all. And so golf certainly has that aspect of being different.
How awesome is it going to be for people to go down, and this is not a fucking plug for Kiawah Ocean Course, but how awesome is it going to be now for people to go down and play that golf course, play 17 with their buddies, come down 18, try and hit the same bunker shot as Phil during his run, try and hit the same type of iron that Phil hit. Maybe they go to the back tees and see if they can hit that green into the wind. Like, how awesome is this sport that we talk about for a living on this fucking podcast? Somehow, some way, we do that. How awesome is it that this sport, we're able to go out onto the field that these guys just played on and attempt the same stuff? Like I said recently that I never want to play Kiawah after we were there. Like I just think it's not a fun golf course. Same reason why I don't want to like go out there and play like Whistling Straits from what I've heard about it. And like it's just, it beats you the fucking shit up. Like I don't want to go do that. I'd rather go drink Palomas down by the, you know, the caddy shack and play ping pong. Go. But what I want to do now, after watching them shape the shots and go down and win championships and the crowd running down the fairway, like I want to go do that because it's now ingrained in my mind. We now have a all-time memory that we just watched an hour ago, which I always have trouble like processing. In 25, 35, 85 years, they're going to be showing that clip that we just watched on the TV while I was like crinkling my toes underneath a blanket and air conditioning. You know what I mean? Fucking weird.
Right. They're going to be talking about that bunker shot. They're going to be talking about that bunker shot forever.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was on 5. Like that was, obviously it wasn't anywhere near being over because it was such a back and forth between him and Brooks. But that felt like when that stuff happens during a round for somebody, it feels like it's you know, written in the stars, as they say. Like if he had gone on to lose and fade down the stretch, like you forget about that bunker shot forever. But since he won, like we're gonna be seeing that till we're 100 years old.
Yeah, and as it happened, it was that was the first moment where you really were like, oh my God, he's gonna do it. Like.
Right.
This is his day. This is magic. This is what's happening. And they, you know, and that too, I mean, to Frankie's point about the course and you know, elevating it now to this lore, it's like lore by the shore, as Jim Nantz said, which I thought was phenomenal. Man, like when he was teeing off on 18 and he was going through his breathing and they were doing these shots with the waves crashing behind him and he's like teeing off on 8, you're just like, holy fuck, like, is this real? And then him coming up 18 with all the fans coming around, it almost was like, you knew that Phil winning was going to be really iconic and memorable, but it was like they went above and beyond, like the sports god who was in charge of this situation, like, over-delivered big time, and you had this crazy scene where you couldn't you couldn't believe what you were watching. And I was very much laughing. I saw a couple people pointing out on golf Twitter that, like, we're learning that the security system of just really thin, like, ropes at golf courses just don't work. Like, people can just go through them.
After he hit his second shot on 18, we lost Phil for 2 seconds. They all jumped on him and they swallowed him, and somehow the security got him back. But I'd never seen anything like that. They had zero control over that situation.
They lost the golf.
Koepka was gone for 15 minutes. Koepka was gone forever.
They lost the golf course, and they said that out at Shinnecock. They lost that golf course. I know the USGA. They got was it Zach Johnson that said that? Was it the guy from Iowa?
It was, yeah.
The needle mover. They legitimately. They got overthrown. It was just a revolution, and people were coming from all over fucking the world, and they were rushing that course, and no one was stopping them. Koepka legitimately, when they were panning around the drone and they were showing 18, and Phil had already walked behind the hole, checked his line, checked the read, was walking around talking to his brother, reading the putt, and then Koepka emerged. I would love to know what happened in those legitimate real 10 minutes. That's a long ass fucking time from his second shot to when Phil is done reading that green.
You can't imagine Brooks has a great memory of that either. He's like, I was close to the top of the leaderboard, and then I faded as the day went on. Now I got to deal with all these fucking guys who wanted Phil the whole day. At no point were they like, hey, Brooks, we're kind of rooting for you. It was 100% Phil. So I can't imagine Brooks looks back on that being like, boy, that was a fun environment.
Plus, there was all the way down to the wire until Phil hit his second shot on 18. It was very realistic. Brooks makes birdie. Phil makes bogey, and we're in a playoff. So from his vantage point, he probably the whole day was I can still win this golf tournament. And then he just got eaten by literally eaten by the crowd and couldn't get out of there. He did not look happy when he came out. I don't blame him. But yeah, he's got something going on too now that we got to talk about. Where he posted 74 last year at the PGA Championship. He had his comments about DJ and the other guys being like, yeah, he's only won one. Nobody else has won any. And then he posted a shit score on Sunday as well and faded. So Brooks coming out with the birdie, you're all thinking this guy's just nails in the final round, nails under pressure. Now he's kind of got a little thing going where maybe it's not so easy to close out major championships.
Yeah, he had the misses left going big time. He just couldn't get the driver in the ballpark. And then, what was it? Was it on 17 where he put it long and then just had a kind of a horrible effort down? Or no, what was that hole? Phil put it in the water. What was that? Was that
13?
Was it that early? Yeah, but he kept missing it. I guess it was because then he got the driver going down the stretch. But yeah, he just he kind of just got in bad spots, but just kept missing it left. And maybe it is something I know he'll just blame injuries and knees and however bad it is. But we'll see how it shakes out going forward for him. But he was just ugly. As soon as he made that 7, he really didn't play strong golf until probably 15 or 16, it felt like.
Yeah,
well, they said on 18,
really
they said on 18 just the swagger of that drive, and even on 16, right? I think he hit a good one on 16. The swagger of those drives, the way he approached the tee shot, the way he put the ball on the ground, the way he went and picked up the tee immediately, that was something that he wasn't doing holes 1 through 15. Something was just off. It was almost like he was playing, and I think they mentioned this on the commentary a couple times, he was getting caught up in Phil's game. Phil was kind of controlling the pace. It almost felt like a hockey game. Phil was the team that was pressing against the defense and was dumping the puck and making the fucking other team make the change. Phil controlled that game today, and I think
his breathing shit was outrageous. His breathing was outrageous.
He took a lot of time out there, man. That was a pace of play issue for Brooks,
right?
Not for the average golfer. I don't think he was going over his boundaries or breaking the rules or anything. But fuck, man, he got Brooks kind of off his game, and it works, I guess. When you're out there. We've all seen it, right? If we're on an amateur side, when we're playing well, and then you get to the next tee box, and these fucking idiots up there are playing for the Ryder Cup, they feel and they're reading greens and all this stuff, and you're like, fuck, man, it's been 25 minutes since I last took a golf swing. How am I supposed to hit this green now? It's impossible. You got to think that Brooks, is come on, man, I gotta go. He said that before, so props to Phil.
He has said that. Dude, I think you're right. I think Phil, that was intentional. I think Phil very much was like, yeah, this guy fucking hates when people play slow. I'm going to breathe.
Yes.
I'm going to drink my coffee. I'm going to play how Phil wants to play. No one's going to penalize me because I'm Phil Mickelson. And this is going to be welcome to my world now, Grandma. Like, that's pretty much what he was doing. And I think it worked. Like, I think, is that the reason? Did it cost Brooks any shots? I don't know. But guess what? He didn't play fucking great. And Phil played perfectly, really. Like, he played for Phil Mickelson in a final round like that. Like, he didn't have to really do anything special. He did hit some sick shots. Like, him birdieing 10, like, they made the turn, and he had, like, the one-shot lead or so. And you're like, okay, Phil's coming down the back nine. Like, he's got a history of having some issues. He's closed some. He hasn't closed other. And then he just piped one on 10 and then hit a dart in there and made the putt. Like, he had some clutch moments where you were just like, man, he's really going to do this. And then he was able to kind of stumble a little bit when he needed to. He was able to hit one in the water and still just made a bogey, no problem. He was able on 17 to, like, realize he was in a dog shit spot. 17 was where we could have had a real Phil moment for sure.
I was convinced that he was going to skull that ball over the green and go into the water, and it was just going to be pandemonium. And then even on the 17 tee box, he was over the ball, and he stepped back, and I was like, it's over. Like, Brooks is going to win this thing. Like, Phil's not in the right state of mind. But I thought for sure his second shot on 17, by some way that was going to end up in the water, and it didn't. He made the right play, but that would have been a very Phil moment if that ends up in the water, and then 18 is very, very interesting.
I've said this after major championships. It's been a couple of years since we've seen. Well, not a couple of years. It's been a long time since we've seen a lot of fans at a major tournament like that, and it just reminded me. Like, I think it was 17 and definitely 18, that we just trust humans at golf tournaments to not fuck up our favorite sport and all this historical shit. Like, we don't trust humans for anything. Like, we legitimately, like, we're all idiots, and we, like, ruin the world, and that's just who we are. That's who we are as humans. We all make mistakes, and we have idiots that get drunk, and they go out there and they fucking drive into telephone poles or whatever they're fucking doing. You can't believe that idiots and drunk idiots don't mess up golf tournaments more often. That a guy doesn't, like a Happy Gilmore thing I'm trying to think of. They all climb the fucking TV tower, it crashes down. Like, the fact that he's stepping up to 17, the biggest golf shot of his career at that time right now, right? He's 50 years old. He needs to get this done. And no one, like, blows an air horn or something. It's amazing that we as a society just allow golf to be golf in those moments. And I just want to applaud humans for letting that happen, because in any other sport, we're assholes. Like, dude, in baseball, we're going fucking crazy in the last pitch. In basketball, we're chanting defense. In golf, we're just like, oh my God, everyone just be quiet and let this guy do his historical shit.
Right, those 4 seconds where a guy is over the ball in golf in a big moment like that, the fact that more doesn't go wrong on a more consistent basis is a miracle. Like, I understand that people, they respect the game, they respect the players, they respect Phil, but people drink a shit ton at these tournaments,
Yeah.
and you could see that was a lubricated crowd out there today. So the fact that, like when he's on 17, the fact that somebody just doesn't go, yeah, Phil, let's do it,
Anything
while he's over the ball is it. I guess it is a testament to humans, but I feel like it. I don't know. I'm just as surprised.
It's one of the great upsets. It's one of the great upsets of all time. That's a miracle that doesn't happen more often.
And it happens like every Sunday all year long. Like, we all just, every day, really, we all just follow the rules. Once we throw those khaki shorts and that polo on, we just kind of, like, follow the rules. And I love it. Like, golf is a sport in which you have to govern yourself. And when you're there, they have acres upon acres of land to cover. You have to kind of govern yourself, and the players are at the mercy of you. I've always said that Tiger Woods at Augusta National, like, chipping on, like, some of the more iconic holes that he's ever done, the fact that, like, none of those moments were spoiled by a drunk asshole is phenomenal. Like, it's
right, like,
it's honestly, like, unbelievable that that's never happened.
Like, say today on 17 with Phil, if a guy had just run out there and kick the ball off the tee,
over.
I would not be surprised.
It's just not.
I'm surprised that it doesn't happen, but it doesn't for the most part. Obviously, there are examples where it has, but for the most part, in big golf moments, they're not ruined by fans. It's just what the player does. And I'm with you, Frankie. The more I think about it, the more surprised I am that more shit doesn't
Again,
happen.
I applaud humans in general. We are all doing a great job. When it comes to the golf course, we're killing it. So let's all give ourselves a little round of applause. If you're listening to this and you just came from Kiawah, just, give yourself that nod. Be like, I did the right thing. I was there for a historical moment. I am part of golf history, and I did my part. You did your part. Whenever you leave those exits and you left that major venue, you did your part. That's awesome.
Except the one person that picked up Phil's ball on
that little asshole girl that picked up the ball. Who the fuck? We need to know who that was, allegedly.
Whether you are customizing an engagement ring, ladies and gentlemen, or designing diamond stud earrings, at BlueNile.com, you are in control. Build a more brilliant piece at a price you won't find at a traditional jeweler. You want to be in control, unlike Mr. Borelli, who was not in control a few months ago when he paid how much for some earrings there, Frank?
Yeah, it was. He tried to get a decent pair of earrings, right? It was like $1,900 or something like that, because it was my mom's big birthday and their anniversary all in the same month, and Mother's Day. And he ended up just not seeing the extra zero at the end, and somehow, some way, with the business card that had somehow allowed the transaction to go through, had paid for $20,000 earrings because the people at this fucking scumbag earring place didn't alert him. Hey, sir, you're walking in with pizza sauce all over your shoes, and you have flour on your cheek because you just came back from making pizzas and delivering $19 pies down the road to Fulton Commons retirement home. And now you're out here buying $20,000 earrings. Can we give the guy a heads up, please? He clearly isn't purchasing those earrings. He's not fucking a wet hair coming from the financial district from Fidei, New York City. So go to Blue Nile. They're gonna treat you right. You're not gonna make a mistake. Trust me. It's very, very cut and dry, and it's simple, and it's just clear. If you're gonna purchase these things, do it with someone that you can trust. And Blue Nile is that kind of company.
Each diamond,
not a wet hair guy. Can't be a wet hair guy.
No. Each diamond is GIA graded, which allows you to view the unique qualities, carat weight to color or cut, and be confident of the quality you are buying. They're different from their competitors at Blue Nile. They don't mark up to mark down, meaning BlueNile.com's everyday prices are competitive to other retailers' sale prices. They got expert advice 24/7, legendary service with 30-day returns, guaranteed service and repair for life. Make the moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Fore Play listeners get $50 off $500 orders. This podcast exclusive offer includes engagement, so use the code FORE, that's FORE, F-O-R-E. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that will not give away the secret, will not give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today and use the code FORE.
I'm sweating.
All right.
I'm sweating.
Yeah, you're hot in that room,
it just has to be said. When we do this podcast, I have a little setup in my room where it's kind of a mini studio. I got all my PlayStation, Xbox, PC stuff. I got my cameras. I got my microphones. And what I've noticed is I set this all up during the cold months of the pandemic. It was like October, November, and it hasn't really been hot. Well, what smacked me in the fucking goddamn moon face was a 90-degree weekend this weekend. And what I found out was when I plug in my air conditioning, because I have one of those, I don't want to say poor people things, but when I have one of those poor people air conditioners that you put into your fucking window, because that's just the kind of room I'm staying in. And you have to crank the thing up, and it goes. I don't have fucking central air in here. Again, pizza sauce on pizza sauce on. We're not buying $20,000 rings around here. You know what I mean? So I can't plug this thing in at the same time as my setup because the fuse breaks and the whole house goes down. So it's 102 degrees in this room right now as I speak to you.
How do you live inside that brain? I don't.
It's a mess.
I don't have.
It's a constant natural disaster in there.
I don't have a goddamn breeze coming through this room right now. Not even a sniff. You know what I need? I need Phil Mickelson to do one of those breaths right on my forehead, which he did on the driving range basically when we were I was like, dude, this was Wednesday. It would have been awesome.
Breathe
now thinking
on me,
about
Phil.
it.
Breathe on me.
No, bro. Because
come on, Phil. Breathe on me.
I don't know if you were on the last podcast, but we were. I don't think you were, but Trent and I were on the fucking driving range. I'm sure you saw a lot of the stuff that we were doing. But
yeah, it was great.
Trent and I are very we're not outgoing like as much as people probably think in person. So we're both talking to each other like, all right, who are we just gonna go up and do it? Are we gonna do it? Are we gonna do it? Are we gonna do it? And I said to him, all right, fucking Phil Mickelson's coming over. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna reach my hand out and I'm gonna say, Frankie Borelli, Barstool Sports, speak to us. Like I had the whole thing planned. And I saw him walk, and what he did was he actually looked like a robot, walked right in front of us, and then took a deep breath and he exhaled like right on our face, basically. And I was just like,
Jesus.
Well, that's over. He just dominated us.
That sexual assaulted you?
Didn't even get a chance to speak because I was just getting blown by his CBD gum breath. So it was just over, and that's it.
I would say I think it was maybe one of the uglier final pairings. I think Phil looks absolutely preposterous in those glasses. And I also think Koepka could not look worse with that goatee thing that he's got going on. I mean, Frankie, to your point, if aliens saw us and they were like, that's your like prized possession walking down this weird piece of grass for whatever reason, that's the ugliest human being in the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean,
I like Phil's aviators a lot.
They have nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing cosmetic about those, correct? Like he's doing those for some sort of.
I think they're strictly cosmetic.
No,
I think you're incorrect.
I think they're practical.
I think that there was a ton of research done about what was like the optimal amount of sun that needed to come into his eyeballs. Maybe he like was having eye problems. Are they prescription? I don't think there's any fucking chance that guy's out there because he thinks he looks good in them. I think that they were surgically done. Dude, I'm telling you, bro, they're so big and they have that certain tint. Like, I'm pretty sure that this guy figured out that he could see the ball better, like hitting the club face, and like he could see pins better with those things on.
No, I think
kidding?
That's what he would tell you if we asked him. I think he would say, "Oh yeah, I got them, specifically engineered so I can see the ball in this type of sunlight." But I think he got them because he thinks he looks good in them, and I think he does look good in them. But I don't know how much of like an advantage he's getting with those particular sunglasses.
Right. I was thinking now they're just Caddyshack glasses where he just like looks at it, just knocks the ball in the hole like that putter.
But there's no way he can think that those look cool. They obviously don't look cool. Like, I think they look fine. Like he's playing golf like Henrik Stenson rocks his glasses. They're fine on the golf course, but they're not like stylish, cool glasses.
I think he thinks they look cool, and I'm sipping that Kool-Aid a little bit. I think he looks pretty cool. He's like a 50-year-old slimmed-down version of himself, and he puts on these aviators. People who wear aviators wear them because they think they look cool.
I think you're wrong. I think Phil Mickelson, on his way to win a fucking major, is not dressing or trying to look cool. Like, that is a very important part of his game, is his eyes. I think that he takes
them off.
No. When?
I mean,
particular shots, he takes them off.
Which
maybe some shots, but he wore them almost every shot.
Which should then even prove more like he's doing things for certain swings, right? Like he on maybe certain chips he needs to be a little bit more feely, and he takes them off because he's used to. I'm telling you, bro, it's Phil Mickelson. The guy like the guy has a C2 squared.
The guy who is
HIV.
the most worried about his image ever, who goes on Twitter because he thinks people think he's cool that way. Like, I don't understand the argument.
I just think that they are so preposterous and they came out of absolutely nowhere that there was some thought into like his game when he started wearing them. I don't think that he went to Ray-Ban.com and was like, what do I look cool in, honey? And like bought them and started wearing them during fucking major championships.
Well, up until today, they've been dog shit if they are supposed to help his game in any way because he's been playing like shit.
Can we talk about what'd you guys think about his reaction when he won, right? Because like that's one of the more iconic wins of all time. Where I was like waiting for tears. I was waiting, and it's kind of a lame thing to say. Like he should have cried, and he should have been more emotional, and he should have like I don't know, acted like he cared about the fucking championship. But he actually kind of did the opposite. Like he was just super polite,
just an old man Sally,
super polite. Like during his interview with Balionis on the green, very like. He was just like very thankful for like fans of the game of golf. It was like an old man talking to the crowd, which I guess it kind of is, but about like the game as opposed to like what he just achieved. It was very strange, and no family there. No family there except for his brother. Very strange.
I would have liked to have seen a little more. I could have used some more emotion, some more fist bumps. I mean, like Tiger Woods dominated him in the Selly game. Tiger went crazy with that, and then he was marching through with Charlie with that whole thing, everybody chanting Tiger, and Tiger's like high-fiving people and fist bumping while he's walking. So, I could have used a little more. I mean, I could have definitely used a little more. I thought the same thing. I thought when he put both arms up, he was excited, but then after that, I don't think I really saw shit from him, which, again, he can do whatever he wants, but I would have liked to see a little more.
He could do whatever he wants, but there was a point when he was speaking that it almost felt like, I actually said to myself, this guy almost looks like he's embarrassed that he just won. The way he was talking, every time Amanda was like trying to get that moment out of him, because she did that with Dustin Johnson at the Masters, and every time he like couldn't speak, she was like, well, I understand that you couldn't answer that question, but what about all the dogs that aren't being saved? You know what I mean? Like trying to ask him a question that would fucking make him cry. And what she was doing that with him, like, Phil, you're the only man in his 50s to ever win a major. You're the oldest. You said it. How's that feel? And he goes, well, these fans out. It was like, what? What, Phil?
I will say it's got to be sort of a weird question to get, where the main point is people just telling you how old you are. Where it's like, dude, you're fucking so old that you're the oldest person to ever do this. And then you're just staring morality in the face. And you're just like, fuck, all right. Like, I understand, like, that's definitely the main takeaway from all of us. Like, that's crazy that Phil won. He's 50. He's the oldest major champion ever. But in Phil's mind, that's just people constantly reminding him that he's super old. And that would be like, it's cool, but it also sucks.
Yeah, it was weird when they were like, you are officially the oldest major champion ever. The oldest. You're so fucking old. Like, they literally, that's like how they introduced him. That's a little bizarre.
I also said morality when I meant to say mortality. I
There
just
you
wanted
go.
that on the record.
I know what you're saying, because I'll sometimes get my skin crawls when I'll be around someone that's around an older person. Maybe it's like a birthday event or something where people are talking about age, and someone's like, oh my God, I'm getting so old. Like, and they'll say it to like an actually old person. Like, let's say my buddy turned like 29. He's like, fuck, dude, like my life is just like over now. And he says it to like a 50-year-old. You're like, well, like, what do you think that just made that person feel like? Like, that person's essentially has 1 foot in the grave now. You know what I mean? I've actually had debates with people in my inner circle about that. Like, do you have any respect for the person you just said that to? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm getting, like, I can't imagine being 40. Ew. Like, you just said that to a 60-year-old. So when that person now goes to sleep and like is staring at the ceiling, and they're gonna be running that one back, like, right? That was 20 years ago, and that person thinks that they're gonna fucking die.
I'm very much picturing Phil driving back in his rental car by himself to his hotel, potentially right now, and just staring off onto the road, being like, I'm old, man. Yeah, I just accomplished something that no one has ever done, but the only reason that was possible is because I waited so long to do it, because I'm old.
Right.
And it's like, that's not great.
Like, the interview didn't lead with, like, you won your 6th major. It makes you, like, tied for 12th all time. Your 45th TGA, it makes you 8th all time on PGA Tour. They were just like, dude, so you're the oldest fucking dude to do this. Like, what's up with that?
And dude, I think Phil's a person that really cares about that. We've talked about maybe being in like a midlife crisis, right? Like the calf stuff. He got oddly thin. He's in the best shape of his life. Again, his family just wasn't there to celebrate him when they knew that he was in the final pairing. Very strange dynamics. A person who's the oldest person on tour to win one. Should have the most family, you know what I mean? Like, like they've been on this earth the longest to then generate the most amount of family to then be there, right?
He has collected the most family along the way.
Right.
Correct.
That's sort of how that works.
No one. But yeah, no, I don't even know what I was saying.
Just saying no one? Yeah, I mean, you're saying that the guy with the most family had no family there, and then basically walked off and said, I love you to his wife, and I'll see you tonight. And it was just like, it wasn't that he came back and won and shot 63 in this, like, miracle. He was in the final pairing. He was like, it was like, no, like, if your family's not there Thursday or Friday, I get that. He was going off at plus 25,000 to 1. Like, but as soon as Saturday comes and he's in the mix, like, just private jet your family up there. Like,
now something may have happened. Something could have happened. Whatever. They could have been somewhere. It is what it is. I mean, Phil's always had these like headlines where he was going to miss the U.S. Open with with his daughter's graduation. Remember that one? It's just
Yeah.
there's always stuff going on during majors with Phil and the family, so obviously things could have happened. But it was just weird to I don't know. And I'm not saying that it's wrong or weird or unfortunate that he didn't cry and drop to the ground and do some. I would have loved to buy a picture and put it up in my future house one day of Phil Mickelson doing something fucking awesome with that huge crowd. Unfortunately, he didn't. So I mean that just kind of sucks. But it is what it is. Phil Mickelson's kind of like a ho-hum. I did it. I've done it fucking 6 times kind of guy. That's kind of cool. Thumbs up. I'm a champion and I'll be here next year competing. I'll be at Torrey Pines. Let's see if I can get that one
thumbs. I know he's the thumbs up guy, but he now does it as a reflex as he's walking. If anybody says go Phil, he just throws it.
Dude, it's
Thanks, guys.
legitimate.
Thanks,
it's just
guys.
it's a ho-hum. I just want a major. He's like, yeah, I'll see you guys. I just got to get to my car. That's it. It's the weirdest fucking thing ever. But that's fucking Phil, man. Fucking Phil with a PH. I was throwing a lot of those tweets out there. People were getting mad.
Yeah, I saw.
You were,
that.
By the end, I think you were doing it to piss him off, right?
Yes.
100%.
I could
That's
sense
Frankie's
that.
way.
Yep.
I could sense that.
I said 50 years old. It was PH on both F's. And everyone was like, this guy sucks. Kind of want to sell that as a shirt. Just 50.
Yeah, he did kept referencing after, I think multiple times I heard him say when he was asked about the crowd swarming him on 18, saying that it was unnerving. So clearly that came off a little bit you're above people being near you, and he was a little bit uncomfortable, oh, we've lost control of everybody, this is a problem, which is I get it, it's kind of what we've been talking about with how I can't believe golf crowds aren't critical. What if someone just ran by and took his hat or something while he's walking while he's walking up 18? So I guess I do get that, but yeah, I think he seemed more subdued than I thought he would have been. And maybe that was a result of his breathing stuff. Maybe he's so lost in the sauce with the breathing that he can't snap out of it. He's in character. I don't know what his deal was, but regardless, it was just one of the coolest things I've ever seen from a golf standpoint, I think, for all of us. It does make him now, like I said, it's his 6th major. It puts him up there, tied with Nick Faldo and Lee Trevino. He's T12 all time. He's got 45 PGA Tour wins. That's 8th all time. So Phil, has pretty much supplanted himself, I would say, as a top 10 player of all time now.
It's also crazy to think that Brooks was going for his 5th. That kept fucking my head up. Thinking that he was trying to tie Phil Mickelson in major championships when, Brooks is 31, Phil's obviously 50. Brooks has just screwed up the whole timeline on majors. He's just won so many so fast that I'm just confused by it. But yeah, Phil, I wonder how Nick Faldo feels about now being tied with Phil Mickelson at 6.
I know how he feels not good about it.
He played it pretty cool on the broadcast. He was very complimentary, and it was very cool for him to watch. But we all know that they have a weird relationship, so I'd love to know how he actually feels.
Yeah, if by weird you mean clearly Phil fucking hates Nick Faldo.
Right. That is what I mean.
Yeah.
Shout out Louis Oosthuizen. Almost at one point on the back 9, kind of felt like it was this was his time. Didn't it feel like that guy was, legitimately on 13, he makes a double bogey, and that was the difference. He ends up losing by 2 strokes. He ended up having a double bogey on 13. Absolutely fucking sucks. But if there was ever a time for Louis Oosthuizen to get it done, he played lights out, man. That guy was nails this week. Just a couple mistakes here and there, and if he eliminates those 1 or 2 mistakes, he wins the PGA Championship. A guy that you really wouldn't have thought would have been in the mix. I fired off a good Louis Oosthuizen when he hit it into the water. I thought you would have liked that, Trent. I don't know if you saw
I
that
did
on
like
TL.
that.
Okay.
I did like it. Yeah. No, I was that's very much up my alley, so I like that a lot.
Louis Oosthuizen is one of the best ones I've ever pulled, because he has 2 O's in his name, you get it?
Yes.
Yeah, I just felt bad for the
Francesa
guy.
made that the best name in the world when he did that whole thing.
I was really pulling for my guy Kevin Streelman. People so didn't want that to happen that I wanted it to happen.
What do you mean your guy?
I'm just messing around.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, he got left hanging worse than you did, Trent. It's just one of the most awkward things I've ever seen.
That wasn't why he was my guy. It's just I love the moments when obviously the entire lead up to starting last night to today was like, Brooks, Phil, what's going to happen? And then a guy like Kevin Streelman is just hanging around 2 or 3 shots back, and it'd be very funny if he just stole the show.
You didn't want Kevin Streelman to steal the show.
I would have rioted. I would have went down
That's
to Kiawah.
why, though. People being like,
You hate that.
A liar. You were not.
You've been on
rooting
this
for
show
that.
being like, we hate when fucking vanilla pudding nobodies win these championships. Legitimately, the reason why we all watched with so much passion today is because it was Brooks versus Phil Mickelson, not because of Kevin Streelman.
I also thought about it, and then I thought it would be funny if Jim Nantz yelled "Man of Streel" when he won, because I thought that would be really funny. But that, like, sometimes I get in those modes where it's like, obviously everything's about Brooks and Phil right now, but if Kevin Streel, Man of Streel, can come out of nowhere and just grab this thing, that'd be kind of funny. But was I actually pulling for Kevin Streelman? No, but it would be funny if once you throw all the narratives out the window and Kevin Streelman wins, that's just a funny win.
Kevin Streelman is just like a.
What's that?
We got to start selling shirts. Man of Streel shirts we've just got to sell those things. Those would be awesome.
Nobody's buying a Kevin Streelman shirt, but I do think it's an awesome name.
I don't know about that.
Well, yeah,
I'll buy
no,
one.
I mean, legitimately, no one would buy a Man of Steel shirt. I mean, unless it's just like a play on the movie
Or
Man
if
of
you have a little
Steel.
fun, yeah.
No,
I think
no,
that's-
Frankie.
Well,
Frankie.
we're in a
Frankie.
business. We're in a business, and we're not having like fun.
Frankie, it is a play on Man of Steel movie. You get it?
No, it is. It is.
Well, like to Lurch's point, like he wants to like put him up for like 1 or 2 people so he can giggle, but it's like we're just not.
Or
gonna
the
sell that
joke
shirt.
would continue, which would be pretty fun.
Frankie, Man of Steel. It's like Man of Steel.
The movie Superman.
Yeah.
And the golfer.
Because if he had won and Jim Nantz says Man of Steel, it's like he's Superman because he beat Brooks and Phil.
I'll give you this. Oh my god, I almost called you Brooks. Lurch. I'll give you this, Lurch. I think the amount that I've now been negative about that shirt, there will be tweets about people who want a Kevin Streelman shirt.
And
Yeah, I don't even think it was about you. I think it's just a funny shirt.
or you make
Superman with Kevin
or-
Streelman on it. I mean, there's.
or you make a fan club of Kevin Streelman fans and you're
Right.
Men of Steel.
There's something there now. We've talked about it for way too long on this podcast. For now, it's like a thing. So we'll see. We'll see how much action. we get.
The problem is there are no Kevin Streelman fans. That is just.
But that's why I kind of snapped on Lurch because he's like, let's just have a little bit of fun. It's like you're just sending that out to nobody.
The singular reason I was pulling for Kevin Streelman is because Man of Steel made me laugh out loud in my own apartment, and that's the only reason.
It will cost more money to actually get it done on Microsoft Word than it
Yeah.
would be to like than the
And
money
it
you would
was
make from
perfect
that
watching him get completely left hanging
Oh,
by Phil
man.
Mickelson, because obviously that happened to me and Frankie over the weekend in Charleston. But it's just that was tough to watch. It's one of those things where you just got to give up, right? Like the first time he goes by you and misses you, bail. You just have to bail. It's when you linger, that's when you get yourself in trouble.
But he was caught in no man's land of like, did I just get left hanging? Maybe if I can salvage the situation on the second pass. And Phil double looked him off and just walked away and went actually very enthusiastically towards someone else that just appeared out of nowhere. And it was so hard to watch. But of course it was Kevin Streelman, like Man of Steel. Nobody else. I could pick any other name. Phil was hugging everybody, every person on the golf course. Paul Casey, everybody was getting hugs from Phil Mickelson. And Streelman, they got to have some sort of history or something because he just walked right by him.
Or Kevin Streelman is just one of those guys where he's never won like a radio call-in contest. When you're supposed to be the 8th caller, he's the 7th caller, and like it just doesn't work out. That's the vibe I got. I don't know if there's anything going on. Maybe there is between Kevin Streelman and Phil Mickelson, but I feel like a guy like Kevin Streelman just kind of always falls, in between the cracks, unfortunately for him.
Another headline that stuck out to me: our guy, 154th world ranking golfer, probably a little bit higher. I mean, better now. Harry Higgs, first major ever, his first major performance ever, and the guy finishes T4, 2 under, and he had a bogey-free Sunday round at Kiawah Island Ocean Course. What a fucking legend that guy Harry Higgs is. We saw him on the driving range going out there on Thursday. He had a great round on Thursday. where he was 1 under, he was in the mix, and then all of a sudden we looked at him and we go, "Hey Harry, like go get him this week. We're leaving tomorrow." And he just goes, "Time for my nap," and just walked by us and went to go nap. And he's just a legend. Harry Higgs is a legend. I could not be more proud of that guy. Just nice to see.
I can feel his swell of support starting to grow. Harry Higgs, like everybody likes him. Obviously, we did that video with him. Everybody loved that. But he's just such a nice, relatable guy that I just hope he continues to play well. Because if he really starts to play really well on a consistent basis, there's no telling how big his fan base will get.
Right, because he's big in our circle and our like fan base, right? Like the people that are foreplay listeners in our group, the guys who like to have fun on the golf course, really, are big Harry Higgs fans. But like I watched it with a couple older people today, and like when Harry Higgs came on the screen, because he's obviously T4, he had some screen time today. They're like, "Oh, like who's this guy?" And I couldn't, like, they were older people. Like my girlfriend's dad's like, "Who is that guy?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Harry Higgs. How the fuck do you not know who Harry Higgs is?" And I had to kind of take a step back, being like, "Well, no, I guess he's like kind of our generation's like he's 28-year-old guy who doesn't button his collared shirt, and this is his first major ever. So I guess if you're not watching that much PGA Tour golf, you're not going to see him. But he is on the precipice of gaining that older crowd because if he continues to play better, they're going to see he's just out there to have a good time. He's just like them. He's going to smoke a stogie, drink a transfusion, and just like have a good time. That's a guy that resonates with every golfer in the world, not just young guys."
Correct.
Yeah, and he is clearly a people's golfer guy. I mean, he's in the top 5 of people's golfer kind of guy. It's like him. Joel played really well too. Had it going for a while, but like him, Joel, Kiz, Max, like these are just the people's golfer type fellas. So he's going to be, if he continues to play this well, a total superstar in our world. A total superstar. He's very likable in every way. And I bet he loves this stuff. Who doesn't?
Well, you ever look at him?
Chef's Cup, baby.
I mean, Harry Higgs seems like a guy that loves himself some beef jerky, some real jerky, and that's Chef's Cut. Chef's Cut has sent us a plethora of jerky, and it goes down the day it comes in. All
Dude,
right?
I eat it right away. Right away.
The biltong, the just the regular original, the teriyaki. I mean, all of these flavors, even the no sugar. All right, Chef's Cut beef jerky, real jerky, comes in these no sugar packets sometimes, right? They'll have the black pepper 0 sugar is what it's called. They'll have the biltong 0 sugar. You know, it just feels better. You know, it's healthier. It feels better in your hand because you know there's not all these like things added to it to make it fake and all the sugar coating and stuff. And it just tastes fantastic. It's got so much flavor. It's juicy. It melts in your mouth. And then also it's like some of them, like the teriyaki, the original for sure, it gives you that sense of like when it's late night or you're driving home and you have maybe some Chef's Cut beef jerky in your car and you need something to just chew on. You know, sometimes you'll stop at like a 7-Eleven or you stop at a gas station. You need something to chew on. Just have Chef's Cut on you. Because it's like so satisfying to crunch it in your mouth. It feels like you're really quenching that starvation, that feeling of wanting to eat. For some reason, Chef's Cut just does it.
You're just describing eating. I mean,
yeah, you're really going on a story time. This is ridiculous. But I will say,
you're
that
ridiculous.
Barbecue smoked chicken is so good. And it's good for your golf bag, Frankie. When you need a little snack, 9 holes, you're playing 18, maybe you're playing 27. Probably good to have in your golf bag, you know? So why don't you tell us another story about it all?
Whatever. When you eat a banana, it just doesn't like do it. You know what I mean? It's that like you're biting into nothing. There's something about eating beef jerky that even if you don't have a lot of it, it satisfies you. It's that one little stick of meat that's like, holy shit, I'm eating a meal right now. And it's out of a bag. Like, or even the beef stick. Like, it's something that you don't need to go. It feels like you need to cook it. You need to like take all this time to make this beef stick, but it's already fucking packaged and you just chew on it. That's my point, Lurch.
So, Chef's Cut Real Jerky and the meat sticks are available nationwide at your local Kroger and chefscutrealjerky.com. Again, your local Kroger. Krogers are all over the place. Go to chefscutrealjerky.com. Use the code CC4Play for 25% off. That's a great discount. CC4Play, that's all one word. Chef's Cut, CC4Play, one word. Go to chefscutrealjerky.com. CC4Play, you get 25% off.
Riggs, you mentioned Joel Damon. I don't think we've talked about our little encounter with him on 17 on Thursday, which was one of the crazier things that's ever happened to any of us.
Yeah,
you guys need to describe it because it was amazing. I actually couldn't believe it.
It's one of the craziest things that's ever happened to our brand in like at a professional sporting event. Like not just Fore, I think just Barstool in general. The fact that someone during the heat of a competition of a major championship that level, and like someone that's playing well at the time, he was playing very well. He was even for the tournament when everyone else was like 6-7 over. He was playing the best in his group at the time. We're standing on 17 green on tee box. We have the inside the ropes passes. And the way that it was positioned that day, today you really couldn't tell because they used a different tee box. But on Thursday, it was kind of like a U-shaped tee box, and we were on the left, he's on the right, and it's just us and the golfers at that point. We were probably in the wrong spot, to be honest. Like, we're just on a tee box. And, you know, people are walking in and out, and they're not noticing us much. And for some reason, like, these 10 minutes went by where just no one could miss us on this tee box, all the players, right? So Joel Damon comes up, he hits a shot, and it goes way left, screams Fore. To us, we think he's in the gallery. And we both look down because, like, he's just going to go back to his caddy and just, like, proceed to play the major championship. What we didn't realize is as we looked up, he's just walking towards us. Doesn't even pick up the tee, hits the golf shot, screams Fore, and then proceeds to walk straight to me and Trent. And I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Even Jake, who's with us, who's like filming all his interactions, didn't even have a chance to pull out his phone because who would have ever thought that this would happen? Walks up to us and just goes like, this is really fucking hard, guys. And I'm like, all right, like, are you talking to us right now? Okay, so then we get up. You see us kind of like get up. And he's like, if I was standing on the 14th tee box at Mesa Country Club, I'd beat your guy's ass right now because he was playing well. Like he's like messing around with us. Then he kind of like stops talking, lets his partner who's playing with him in the major championship hit, and then continues to talk to us and joke around. And we were able to get in a couple hoo-has with him. I was like, oh, like we just can't be around you because every time we're around you, you're just the worst golfer ever. And he laughed at that and just went on to like make a bogey on 17. Like it was preposterous.
Good closing joke. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then, like, as our lives are, we're like, damn, that was an awesome moment because Joel is legitimately an awesome guy. And then the next thought is, boy, I wish we had that on camera. It would be really funny and cool thing for all of our fans to see because, like we're saying, it's the Thursday of a major championship. This is no bullshit. Like, for Joel to come over, that's a pretty crazy thing. And then we got one tweet of a screenshot of the top of my very burnt head talking to Joel Damon. So it was clearly on some sort of broadcast, but it was one person that tweeted at us. We couldn't find it. Marina, who we work with, ended up finding it, and it got the whole interaction, which we didn't think was possible. We figured when Joel hit the ball, it goes left, they all yell Fore, and then we figured they jump to another guy. Like, that's how a golf broadcast works. But we got the clip, and sure enough, it shows him hitting the ball, yelling Fore, and they stay on him, and as he walks all the way across the tee box to tell us how hard this golf course is. Like, it was... And we got the whole thing on video, and we had proof. We weren't just lying about Joel coming over to us. It was pretty fucking incredible.
1 in a billion chance that they stay on Joel Damon to show him talk to the patrons, as they call this, which was funny. People wanted us to get, like, mad at that. Like, I don't expect fucking ESPN Plus or anyone to know who the hell we are. Like, I didn't respond to one of those tweets. They're like, how do they not know who Riggs... I mean, legitimately, I got 1,000 tweets being like, the disrespect that they don't know who they are. I'm like, are you kidding me? What... I don't even know who I am on
right.
that.
I like that. I actually prefer being in that spot. I want them to be like, oh, look at Joel going over there to talk to a couple idiot spectators. That feels like a good
That's who we are.
Right, I know. That's what I mean. Like, it feels like that feels like the lane we need to stay in, and we're not going anywhere. So I think it's going to stay that way.
A lot of people commented about how you like. I kind of just followed your shoulder tap, which like it was just
somebody said the last person to touch Joel wins because
Yeah.
I hit him and then you hit him, and I was like, because you definitely followed my lead on it because he said something funny and I was like, oh, good one, Joel, and you're just like, yeah.
I just wanted to touch him. I mean, I just don't know how often you get to touch a guy who's competing for a major championship. You know,
You might have to cut that out of the podcast. I just wanted to touch.
No, Joel knows that. Joel knows
yeah.
I want to touch him.
Another thing that we need to talk about that happened on that 17th tee that the cameras did not catch,
Holy
and I know
shit.
Frankie knows what I was talking about. Jason Duffner's group came up onto that tee box, and he was standing off to the left, like getting ready to hit, and Frankie and I were looking down at our phones. I think Jake was looking at his phone too,
trying to find the clip of Joel Damon. So Joel Damon had
That's right.
just happened, right? Joel Damon, the craziest interaction that we've ever had, comes up to us, leaves. We're on our phone. One guy from Germany, I don't even know if you explained that. One guy from Germany was like, "You're on the broadcast on ESPN." No one else in the world sent it to us. Just this one legend with an iPad from Germany. We're like, did this just play on the Germany podcast? Like, do they have specific cuts for Germany that we're on that one? Like, we didn't understand what was happening. So we're looking at our phone trying to find Joel, and someone behind us, Trent, goes,
Yes.
Duffner's just staring at you guys right now. And we all look up at the same time, and Duff Daddy is standing over us, just staring a hole through our chest. And we're like, what is happening? And I look at him,
he was like 8 feet from us. Like, he wasn't on the other side of the tee box staring at us, looking at our phones. He was about as close as you can be while it's like still a comfortable distance, just staring at us. And when we look up, he continued to stare at us.
And I think the crowd started to like laugh. They're like, what's he doing? Oh shit. And like, he kind of like smirked and just looked back towards the golfers and then never came over and explained what happened. So it almost reminded me of one of those moments at like a hockey or baseball game where the Jumbotron during like the intermission or something will lock on people on their phones. And the Islanders will do this sometimes, and they'll put the timer on in the bottom left. And like, how long can they see that we're not staring at them on the Jumbotron because these idiot millennials are on their phones at a fucking professional golf tournament? Now, we were looking for something, like actively trying to find. We were on streams or whatever. And like, he must have been locked on us for what felt like a minute or two. And like, cause someone behind us in the gallery was like, dude, you guys have to look up. Like, Duffner is like legitimately not stop looking at you until you make eye contact with them.
There's something there. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I'd love to get an answer from him at some point because he was very clearly pretty close to us and just staring through us. And he never came over, like Frankie said, to be like, hey, what's up? None of that. But I don't think, like, I was going back and forth in my head trying to think if it was a negative or a positive interaction.
I don't know.
I really don't know either, but he did smirk at the end and then he hit his shot. But it was just a very odd thing.
It was, I think,
so
what
he
I
did
said.
smirk. There was like a little laugh at the end or something, or no? Like, when he stared at you, like, do you think there was anything to it?
I think it was the Jumbotron thing where it's like, look at these idiots on their phone. I think he must have given the gallery like an eye, like, look at these guys. Like, their heads are all down. I'm looking at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it was weird.
But the 17th
because Duffner's got like a sense of humor, so I was thinking like he was doing that out of some sort of joke or like the look at these idiots, like the Jumbotron thing.
I tried to sneak in a joke and I was like, what are you staring at, our guy's hat? And because like Jake was wearing an Alabama hat. So, and I know that they've had a huge, I mean, I don't know if we ever talked about that, but Jake and Duffner like went at it at Kisner's charity foundation about
big time.
Was it Auburn versus, is he an Auburn guy?
Yeah.
So it was like Auburn versus Alabama. So like, I thought maybe he remembered that. I mean, what are the odds that Jake was wearing an Alabama hat? He argued with Jake at Kisner's foundation. So maybe, I don't know. I don't fucking know. I'm so awkward.
What's up, Jake?
Oh, Auburn Golf. Look at that. War Eagle. War damn Eagle.
LTP.
Oh yeah, let's get
Jake is the best part is Jake is literally mad back there, which is why I kept the shirt here.
Do we have any more highlights here before we get into the LTP?
Oh, Jake can't respond because of the audio. Sure. The only other thing I wanted to say was just that the PGA Championship delivers. We all have shit on the PGA Championship many times. I don't even shit on it. It just doesn't like. We've just talked about it a lot. Is it's not the British Open, it's not the U.S. Open, it's not the Masters. It's a major, but it's like the PGA, and they moved around because they're trying to get on a different part of the schedule where they're not like kind of the last major, and everybody kind of knows that. But man, the PGA Championship delivers. Like Tiger and Brooks in 2018 at Bellerive was amazing. Like Tiger in 2000, I was talking with my boy Joe Shu, who like runs, works up at Greyhawk and is very, very important up at Greyhawk and kind of run that whole place. They got the NCAA championships going on the next 2 weeks. And he was talking about the PGA Championship in 2000 and how the year 2000, which was obviously like Tiger's big year, like their course list was like the Masters obviously had Augusta. The U.S. Open had Pebble Beach. The British Open had the old course at St. Andrews. And then the PGA Championship had like Valhalla in like Kentucky. And people were like, you know, whatever. And guess what? It was the best one. Like fucking Bob May and Tiger both shot like 31 on the back nine and had to make huge putts in the last hole. And then the first playoff hole, Tiger chases the ball into his hole from like 20 feet away. And like the PGA Championship over the years, like last year, Morikawa with no fans on 16, like drove it to 7 feet and like made eagle. And there were 10 different guys that could have won. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the PGA Championship because the way they set those courses up, the venues that they pick, and the way that they do it, I think it over the others almost like maybe Augusta's the one they don't have it over because the back nine at Augusta, we could all go into that, but man, it feels like they deliver it as high of a rate or higher of a rate than any other tournament in the world.
Yeah, and it's the play that's going to separate it or make it noteworthy, right? Like, they can move it all around the calendar they want, and I know some events they throw money at things and they think that's going to make it better, but like Brooks' domination of the PGA Championships as of late, the Brooks Phil today, like the Colin Morikawa, the Bell Reeve with Brooks and Tiger, like those are the things that are going to make the PGA Championship noteworthy. You can put it anywhere on the schedule that you want, but it's guys playing well. It's guys like Phil winning. Those are what's going to make people like want to tune into the PGA Championship. And you're right. Like these last couple of years, it's been fantastic. I don't know if it'll ever elevate to a level that they want to be at or whatever, but the way that it's been going, like the PGA Championship, I look forward to that just like any other major. Like it's an awesome tournament. It's just that's the way it is.
Shout out Seth Waugh. Seth Waugh is a genius. He's our golden cookie nugget and everything about. I mean, I don't know that we talked about this. Maybe we did, and we always do that on this fucking podcast. We like, I don't know if I said this yet, but I saw Seth Waugh and I just hugged him like I was his son. I mean, we legitimately embraced each other like we hadn't seen each other. Like I just got back from war. It was insane. So that's the kind of guy that they got running over there. That they got running the ship. I don't know.
What's going on?
What's
going on?
You're running the ship works. There you go.
Running the ship over there. So that's the kind of guy that they got running the ship over there.
No, I mean Seth Waugh is as big as a dude as you can be. I mean
he's great.
When he came on our show, we saw it right away. He's got that charisma, he's got that pizzazz, he's got the class. And when a guy like that's running the ship, you know that it's going to be a good product. Seth Waugh's not going to be in charge of some rinky-dink championship, okay? He knows what golf needs. He talked about it beautifully on this podcast about the game of golf. I think he had a couple quotes that we wanted to turn into like inspirational posters to hang in our room.
He had a tough virtual exit on our podcast. You remember that?
He did. He's
definitely a CEO. He's not the guy that signs off the Cisco chat before. So
also we got a guy here that can put on a golf tournament in 12 hours for 48 college golfers, but can't get his audio to work for a half an hour while I'm sitting in a 100-degree room. I'm talking about Rick.
Oh, so. I'm the only guy that's ever had audio issues.
No, but it is starting to become a problem.
28 minutes was an issue.
It's starting to become an issue.
You had to buy a new microphone because we thought that was the issue, and that's just not the issue.
I'll say it was 28 minutes too, but like no one was offering. You guys were blabbering on. Nobody was like offering any help or anything. Nobody's looking in the eye. Trent's got the same mic. Nobody was like, well, I actually had this experience. So I couldn't hear anybody. So what was I supposed to do? I was just sitting here. I could have done that. Next time I'm going to do that for like an hour and a half. Just sit here.
We said like, well, there's a drop down there. You just got to click it. You got to click the microphone. And then we also said, we said just figure it out. Like I was just saying, figure it out.
But because every suggestion we were going to give would have felt like we were babying you. Like we were being condescending, where it's like, hey, if you could just...
Did you try to plug it in? Yeah,
right.
Plug it in,
dude, Lurch wanted us to text you and say, turn the volume up. And I was like, are you insane? We're on the 26th minute. We were laughing about
that because I was like, who's going to text them to say, turn the volume up? And everybody's like, I'm just not doing it. So we'll let this one go.
Anyway.
Talk to us about the LTP. It looked like a fucking raging success, man.
So the LTP was incredible. Another thing that's incredible I want to get into first, the Bushnell Wingman. We talked about this a lot. The speaker, it's the coolest thing ever. It's got GPS built into a really high quality sound quality Bluetooth speaker. So I actually, like when we go on vacation, we go on our golf trips, I don't bring a Bluetooth speaker for the hotel room if we're going to hang a little bit. I literally just use the Wingman because the sound quality is so good on it. And the thing's awesome. It comes with like a ball marker size button that you put in your pocket. You can actually just use it to mark your ball if you want. It's literally like a ball marker. You press the button, it just gives you distance to the front, the back, the center. It's got on the app too that you sync it up to, the Bushnell app. It just gives you the aerial bird's eye view of the hole. So if you're playing a place for the first time, you just look. You can click on you can just push on your screen where that bunker is. It tells you exactly how far that bunker is. Hit the button, and it just gives you the distance while playing the music. The thing is awesome. So you go to bushnellgolf.com/Fore, order your Wingman Golf Speaker today because the thing is awesome.
It's a good Father's Day gift, to be honest. Like, I really think that you're going to stun older generation golfers. You're going to be like, hey, man, like, this is what we're all doing on the golf course now. We're listening to music. We're getting yardages. We're not walking over to sprinkler heads anymore. Golf courses aren't putting in the white and red and blue stakes anymore. We're going to start going to nicer courses, and we're going to need yardages. We're going to need pin seekers. And what this is an easy way for them to get yardages. I honestly think it's going to be the easiest way for these people to get the yardages and be able to have some fun. So you sync it up for them wherever you got to do technology-wise, but once it's all ready to rock, it's going to be a great gift for people. Just look into it. I'm telling you. If you're deciding on what to get, it's going to be a great wow factor gift.
bushnellgolf.com/Fore. They really are awesome. You got to get them. They're the perfect addition to your golf bag. The Let Them Play was it went awesome. It went extremely, extremely well. I know a lot of people have seen a lot of the footage at this point. We were, of course, putting it out, everywhere that we possibly could. And there's a couple big takeaways for me. One was just like the girls were awesome. Like they were very cool. They were very good at golf, which shouldn't be surprising, but like, how often have any of us really watched college women's golf? Probably never, or next to never. Like people just don't spend enough time watching women's sports, especially a niche thing like college women's golf. They were just sick. Like they all just stepped up on the first tee. It was a tense situation because everybody knew it was getting so much media coverage. It had been talked about so much. We'd put the video out Wednesday night, so they knew like all of these big names were paying attention. We get up to that first tee, and I'm thinking like, how in the fuck is somebody going to hit a good tee shot right now? And it was just 40-plus girls step up and just roasted tee shots. And I just was like, okay, yeah, they're just unreal. I mean, one girl, Audrey Tan, who won the whole thing, she just shot 9 under over 3 rounds of golf. And the first day, it was very windy and it was really hot. Like, especially, and then the last day in the afternoon, the last 9 holes, it was super windy. There was only one round in the 60s and she shot 68 and won the whole thing, posted 9 under. So, like, how good they were at golf was awesome. There's very much an appetite for watching them play because it's just fun. It's a different kind of game too. Like we've all played with guys that play college golf or that are really good. We've played with kids, and like for the most part, they step up and they just roast it, and then they kind of find it wherever it ends up. And the women are so accurate, it's insane. Like they just hit the ball on the par threes like they always miss on the correct side of the pin, just below the hole, or they hit it right at it. Off the tee, they hit every single fairway. Like no one's ever really in the desert. And they're just really fun to watch how good they are. And a lot of them, too, like, a lot of them are small. Like, you just don't, like, you're like, oh, God, look at this. Like, she's adorable, great. And then she steps up and just rips a tight shot. And you're like, oh, fuck, like, let's go. So that part of it was really cool. Our team was laughing a lot, like the production crew of, like, because they've come and they've filmed the Barstool Classics before. And they're like, man, is this different. Like, we stand behind one par 3 being like, all right, let's get a couple 6 shots. We'll probably be here for an hour or two, whatever. And they're like, all 3 in the first group, just 6 shot. We can just move on to the next thing. They're like, Barstool Classic, we had to stand there for an hour before somebody will make a cut and try to get, like, footage of it. So it was very cool watching them play. I thought, too, like, they all had, a bunch of them had, really cool, like, locker room teammate type personalities where they're busting each other's balls hard. It got to the point where, like, we built up a little bit of a rapport. Like, the Mississippi State girls, one of them came off the tee after absolutely piping one and just walked by me and was like, can you do that, Riggsy? So, like, they were, like, chirping and, like, they're teammates that, like, take a lot of shit and give it back. And so just kind of having that rapport and all of that going on while everyone was having, a good kind of finale experience was cool. We spent a lot of time with like a few of the different ladies' parents that had made the trip, and they were so kind, they were so appreciative. They were offering up to like the perspective of a parent that you don't think about, and how shitty the whole thing was for them, because like you want the best for your kid, obviously, but usually you can influence it. You can like, pay for them to go to school, or have them go to an awesome vacation, or get them a tutor if they need, or whatever. But in this situation, like, they couldn't do anything. Like, the parents were watching their kids be miserable because their seasons and careers were ended in the parking lot. Shout out Frankie and SVP. And they couldn't do anything, and the parents felt so helpless. And then all of a sudden, they got to come out and have like this finale experience. So hanging out with the parents was really, really cool. A lot of them, or a few different girls, had family that lived within 5 or 10 hours that drove and surprised them for the final round, and so it was just kind of, the whole thing was it was a lot. I cried probably a handful of times at the end of it, but I will say, in my defense, I think our entire staff on Friday, when we were doing the Cisco videos with the families, everybody cried. Like Devlin, who's our social guy, who came over to us after and was like, I was pretty convinced I didn't have a single emotional like cell left in my body. And he's like, and I was tearing up during a couple of those calls with people's families. So the whole thing was just like, it was off the charts. It's one thing that I kind of said in a few different interviews when I really was thinking about it, because I had like a 40-minute drive each way to and from the course. So I was just kind of thinking about the whole thing a lot. And I was thinking like, whenever you do work and whenever you focus on something, put a ton of effort into something that is for others, it's such a different return, right? Like when you're working on stuff that just makes like your own life better, it's very like selfish and you're self-consumed, and you have to be that way to some degree in order to get through. But like when you're working on shit to like check boxes and get stuff done because it's going to improve the lives of others, and then you see that it does, it's just like, it's like the reason that you're actually supposed to fucking be here. It's like, oh, that makes sense that we're different than like a plant. Like that's like what we as human beings can actually do. And seeing that pay off and how gracious everybody was, it was, for me, and I think like Lisa and a lot of the people, Justin, a lot of the folks that worked on it, it was the coolest thing in my career that like we've been a part of by far.
Yeah, and I mean the perception on social media, and even just us being out there at Kiawah, just everyone just couldn't believe, number one, how good the girls were, right? And it sucks that like you can't believe how good they are, like you're saying. Like there should be more eyeballs on it, and I think for something like this, it was a blessing in disguise that they did get more eyeballs on it. The video that's going to come out, that E-Bug and all the guys, it looked like Steve was down there, Devlin, all those guys that were filming. That video will be unreal to be able to watch the skill and watch like what should happen in the future. They should have more eyeballs. They should have a lot more hype around their seasons and everything that they got going on. So that's awesome, the fact that you're able to do that. And just the family stuff was unbelievable. I was with a couple of friends the other night, and like that came up, and that it's just like you watch it, you have to turn it off. You're like, I can't. I mean, I'm in public, I can't watch that. Like what do we do? Like the girl walks by, she comes back, she's like, what is going on? She starts like nervously laughing. Her whole family's on the Cisco WebEx. It's like, all right, I can't. I'm like ordering ice cream right now. I can't. I was just scrolling the timeline, and I just can't deal with that. So, I hope I hope this continues in some fashion. I don't know like what the future plans are for it, but I'd love to be at one because it was a major sense of like FOMO of not being there. Honestly, like it felt like the right place to be more than the Kiawah, like the PGA Championship. That's how crazy of a successful thing it was, and like that feeling of putting on for others. I know exactly what you're talking about. It is like a better feeling than working for yourself. But we said that with my dad all the time. We'd open up on Christmas morning Borelli's for the needy families and stuff, and 250 people would come. And we'd be like, Dad, you work every single day. Why don't you just take Christmas off, right? He's like, those days like just aren't like, this is my favorite day to work of the year. Because like we're actually doing something for people. We're not like trying to sell a pizza to make money for us to like pay our rent. We're actually just like giving people something that they wouldn't have had if we didn't go into work. And you gave people a tournament that they wouldn't have had if you didn't go into work that day. And that's fucking awesome. That feeling is what drives you. Like he looks forward to this Christmas now. That like, you know what I mean? That's what will drive hopefully the brand and like every like golf and college golf for forever. Like this can now help women's golf in a better way, and that's just awesome.
Yeah, and I don't think it has to be the last one. Like I think it's without question the coolest thing that Foreplay's ever done is the LTP. I mean, like there was clearly a miss, and Greg's team basically put on this incredible event. And I agree. The one aspect of all your interviews and all the content coming out that I didn't foresee and really just didn't think about was like the parenting. Like you just want the best for your kid. You want that aspect, and like that showed true in so many different ways. That yeah, I mean, it was just spectacular. It was spectacular. So it's a job well done, and I don't think that it's the last one either. Just on how well it did, and bringing eyes to other events. I think it's there's a lot of avenue for that.
Yeah, they were very much requesting and hoping there'd be another LTP, and Eric and I, been texting, and a lot of it was just a lot of like congrats, like I can't believe we pulled this off. This is amazing, but there's an appetite for it, so we're gonna pursue it, and as a squad, as a team here, the more events we could put on, the better. And I think like one of the main reasons I wanted to harp on the level of play is because like people, as we've mentioned, don't give enough credit to women's sports, and you think in the back of your head like, oh yeah, maybe because it's who knows, is it not the same? Whatever. Like watching them play was fucking awesome. Like it was so fun to watch them play and follow them around and watch for 5 or 6 holes as they like navigated their way through the round and fought certain stuff and then bounced back. It was so impressive watching them hit shots, watching them get up and down from all over the place. Like they stood on the putting green, man, on Wednesday especially, and like they just didn't miss a putt. They made everything, and Lisa just kept looking out, being like, I've never seen that before. At all of our tournaments, people putt for 2 hours straight, nobody makes one, and then they're just making everything. So the level of play was really impressive, and yeah, it is just when you're focused so hard on something that is outside of yourself and your own like self-interest. You're not doing it to improve yourself. You're doing it to give other people something that like they deserve, and trying to go above and beyond to make it special. It's the easiest work in the world, and when it paid off, and when you really started to see like those girls that were screaming and that were crying last Wednesday in Baton Rouge, like they have brothers, they have sisters, they have parents, grandparents that like were devastated for them outside of themselves being devastated clearly. They have coaches that like those coaches couldn't do anything. Those coaches had to answer questions on the way home. I think it was North Texas who had like a 10-hour drive or something back from Baton Rouge, where the coach was just like, yeah, we were talking with the team. It's like, I don't have any answers for you guys. I'm sorry. Like, go home, basically. Like, now is the part of the year where you just go home. And instead of that, man, they got pictures, they got videos together, and their memory won't be, how a bunch of people let them down or how it had a horrible ending. It'll be a positive one where they were part of like a really cool event that didn't exist, that got a ton of exposure, and people were rooting for them. And so it was just extremely cool to see. And like it was very competitive. Clearly, like people want to win these girls. Like you can't get to that level unless you're crazy competitive. But it was also the final round. I was laughing that the final round seemed less tense than the first day, because you could tell that it was a little bit almost of like a victory lap for everyone. That like whether they win or lose, it was like we've all won because we came here and we did this together. And we threw cornhole up. People were playing some cornhole after, and just kind of hanging out and reminiscing over the whole thing. So it was awesome. University of North Texas, they posted 11 under and won the entire thing. They have a really good team. It's like one of their best teams in years, and they easily could have made a run. I mean, I'm looking at the women's standings over at Greyhawk right now, and there's one team under par through 3 rounds of golf. Now, obviously, it's a different course, probably set up a little tougher, but like UNT, like the Mean Green from North Texas were 11 under par. Stanford is 18 under par. Duke, who's in second place at the NCAAs right now, is 2 over par. So it's like clearly like these teams didn't even have a chance to go to this Nationals, and like they're fucking really good. So Audrey Tan, Lauren Cox, Patty Sinalungan, Emily Rico, who had an ace in the practice round, by the way. Katie Finley, Shreya Powell, then their coach Mike Lakers. They were just awesome. They came in, they dominated, they played really, really well, and they got it done. So it was awesome. It just went extremely well. We obviously appreciate everybody supporting it, covering it. and we're not gonna stop. And it's got a great backstory. So if we run an event in the future, if you get 5, 10, 15 years into this thing, you start talking about the let them play, like the origin story is off the charts.
It's off the charts. And yeah, it's just really good for women's golf in general. It's got great feedback, from all, like Daniel Rappaport, that was right. Daniel Rappaport was the one who wrote that article, and he came up to us on the driving range, just like really fucking awesome what Riggs and you guys are doing out there. Couldn't have been more. He honestly felt like appreciative for the game, and just like when you have a platform like this to be able to do some cool things. And oddly, the pandemic and this world that we're now living in has granted us the opportunities at Barstool to be able to do things with our platform that necessarily I didn't think we'd ever be able to pull off, like the fucking Barstool Fund raising almost $40 million for small business, something like this, where like the way the world is and just the circumstances that happened, they couldn't play in their fucking championship and their final qualifying event, and we're able to throw this together because we happen to have another tournament that we have everything in place that we could just now move that to. It's just crazy that all the things that could happen with our platform and the way that we run this operation, that we could pull this off. And it's just awesome. Really great job.
Big shout out to Lisa Litvak, who runs our live events, who just, ran all the logistics of it. She crushed it. Justin, who works for her, he crushed it. He came out here for pretty much the whole week. Devlin and Cody did the social. We had eBug was out there with Snapchat Steve. They were cranking the production on the cameras. Jackie, who's our PR, she came out and managed all the PR. And then Drew, a.k.a. Phoenix Dave from Whirlwind, just crushed it for them. He was supposed to have Thursday, Friday off, like I said, and he instead was up at like 5 a.m. every day, just running this tournament. So their whole staff there, Louie and the whole squad at Whirlwind, was awesome. And yeah, it was just a crazy collaborative effort that got it done, and everyone was just pulling in the same direction to give the girls the best experience. And somehow we pulled it off. Drew's actually playing in the Barstool Classic tomorrow now, so good luck to him and his boy. And then the partners, Cisco, Whoop, G4, TaylorMade, Bushnell, and Trifecta, they came on and put up the money that covered all those girls' expenses, so they didn't have to pay for flights, transportation, hotel, food. It was all covered because those partners came in and because people bought merch. So just an insanely collaborative thing. It was awesome to do stuff for other people. The coolest part of my career by far was watching them just be happy and like in the year with smiles and pictures and videos that they'll remember forever. So, and Zach, our guy from Cleveland who drove 30 hours just to photograph the whole event, that guy's awesome. So he legit was just tweeting at me. I responded. We covered his hotel and his expenses, and he drove from Cleveland to take pictures the whole time. And he was just working his ass off. He'd be away for an hour. He'd come flying back, running across the course, airdrop me a bunch of pictures, and then go out and do it again. So just a million people worked their asses off to make it happen. And the girls were cool as shit. They were so appreciative. A bunch of them gave me they wrote notes for me and Lisa and a few others, or they gave us gifts, and I cried every time. So it was awesome. The whole thing was fantastic.
Glad to hear it. That's awesome. I'm well done, and honestly look forward to the next one. And what do you think the tier count was at? You said, maybe a half dozen times, but then you cried every time you got a note. There was how many golfers? So what was the number, do we think?
No, I would say it was probably 5 if you count every time on Friday. So Wednesday night when I was giving the little opening remarks, I choked up. Mostly I knew the video was coming, and I was like, the whole thing was kind of a lot. And Thursday I was fine, and then Friday I was pretty fine until we started showing those videos. There were a few moments in between that when like Nicole Schroeder's mom was awesome, and she was there, and she came over to me, a few different times, and just like she would get emotional when she was telling me what all it meant to them. So it was like if somebody's like right in front of me that starts tearing up telling me how much this means to them, like I'm gonna fucking tear up every time. So that, you could count that, I guess, but that was just kind of between her and I wasn't necessarily bawling. When the few of the videos, like the first video, we had a few different from Spain, and the first girl came by, and her, it was like 10 p.m. local time in Spain. So like her whole family was all having a bunch of beers and like a siesta and like all on a Cisco call together, a Cisco WebEx call, and she like stumbled upon it and was like, oh my God, and like joined, and they're all like speaking Spanish together, which we couldn't understand. So like I lost it during that. And then the video that we kind of tweeted out with Nicole from Oregon State, who like didn't know what was going on, came back and then like started crying when she saw her whole family. Like that made me bawl my eyes out. And then we had Izzy from Oregon State, who she's from Australia. She made the comment. She wasn't a senior. She was the only one that we did wasn't a senior, but she had made a comment that she basically hadn't seen her family in 2 years because of COVID, being from Australia. So then we rushed it to try to get her family's contact info, and we surprised her during the whole thing with her mom. And that was like waterworks through the whole thing. And it was funny too, because like her mom couldn't figure out like the mute button, and it was like going back and forth. So yeah, I mean, once we got to that part of it on Friday, it was waterworks. I'd say probably 5 times I was legitimately like crying.
Well done.
It's a tear.
Jimmy
fest.
V, you know?
There he goes.
Jimmy V.
Full days.
All right. What a week in golf. What a week for golf in general. Women's golf. Phil Mickelson, PGA Championship. Congrats to Phil. Congrats to North Texas. Congrats to the PGA of America and Kiawah Island. I thought it dominated. Great week for the fellas down there and Kiawah, putting out video after video after video. So it was just a huge week. And now we've got 2 Barstool Classics based Monday and Tuesday in Arizona. We got another one in Denver on Friday. We got a ton more videos to roll out. So just keeps rolling, fellas.
Shout out to Uptown Social down in Charleston for a great watch party. We were calling it a meet and greet at one point, which it just wasn't. We really
we were telling the best golfers in the world when we would talk to them on the range. They were like, "Oh, what's the rest of your week look like?" And we would say, "Oh, we're going to a meet and greet," and they'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
I think Harry Higgs was like, "What are you going to?" And like, it's just sorry, man.
Dewey
like,
and
Sorry, man.
yeah, Dewey and JT, my JT, John Tiller, were like, they were just busting our balls the whole time about because we told them meet and greet, and they were like, "You guys are fucking nobodies."
Everyone that showed up, it was a transfusion, Owen's Mixers transfusion party. We had frozen transfusions, which are a game changer, absolute game changer. I mean, I had one too many soda pops, as the kids say. And what they did was they put the Islander game on for me downstairs. I did a nice little outfit change, and I felt like I was at home. But it was just a fantastic place. Every single person we met at that bar couldn't have been nicer. Everyone that came out, thank you so much. A lot of you are big fans, which to me is insane. Like, they knew everything about us. They knew everything about the podcast, and that was just awesome to see up front. It's just so cool to actually meet the people that listen to the show. And somehow, some way, I had that bar chanting for the blue and orange, man. Like, we really had that place going fucking crazy. It happened to be one of the crazier playoff hockey games in like recent history. I mean,
insane.
There were goals every 2 seconds. No one could understand what was happening. They're down 3-1. They score 2 goals in 20 seconds. It's 3-3. Then every time the Islanders score, the Penguins score a minute later. Then the Islanders score a minute later. We didn't get the W, which was heartbreaking, but. Yeah, no, it was a fun time, man. And the owner of that bar is a diehard Ranger fan, so he texted me the next night like, "Dude, thanks for rocking that place." Like, criminal to see that place going crazy for the Islanders. Like, just never thought in a million years that would happen in Charleston. He kind of got away from New York, and now it's like, because he has like the 13th step. He's got a bunch of places in New York.
Yeah.
And big Rangers guy. And now he's down here in Charleston, like running one of the best bars in Charleston. And like, I just come stumbling in and I turn it into an Islander bar. It's kind of funny, like that guy's path in his life. So, Uptown Social, great spot to be if you're in downtown Charleston. I want to go back because we didn't really get to experience it much. We were at the golf course so much, and we only got there for the game and the watch party. So, shout out to Charleston. The meet and greet.
Nice meet and greet.
Great people.
Meet and greet.
Great people down there.
Watch party.
It is stunning when you see in real life people that are actually like listening to it. Like, there's concrete evidence that people listen to what we say.
I questioned each person.
Yeah.
I actually made them feel like losers. I'm like, "You listen to our show?" Like, what? And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Isn't that like the goal?" I was like, shit, you're right. No, but they are just the coolest people of all time. Everyone just loves golf down there. Every time you almost meet like the same person each time. They know an inside joke about the podcast. They'll say something that like will make you chuckle, and then they'll be like, "Where are you guys playing? Like, do you guys want to come play with us?" Like, every single person just loves golf and wants us to play and experience their home course, their favorite like. They want us to go to their favorite destination. You know what I mean? Like, they all just care about us experiencing it because they want to hear if it's the same experience that they had. That's the one thing I've gathered is, like, everyone just wants to kind of hear like us go to different places because that's their favorite place. And what are we going to say about it? So, the travel series I think needs to keep growing, and everyone wants to watch Trent fucking break 100. It's like the biggest thing in the world. I mean, aside from the LTP and aside from the PGA Championship, the biggest talk at Kiawah Island was Trent breaking 100. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah, no, every single person I ran into, fans or, PGA Tour players alike, were like, is it happening? When is it happening? I didn't have a great answer for him because I'm like, I'm just working on it, and I've got this new swing that JT is trying to help me with. But it's very anticipated. People can't wait to watch. Those videos will be coming out, within the next couple weeks, and then I just got to keep playing rounds, and I got to keep getting better. So, but yeah, a lot of people, it's a lot of anticipation for the breaking 100.
Are you feeling the pressure of kind of the world on your shoulders now?
Oh yeah, big time, big time. Because it's gonna be tough. It's I'm gonna have to really work at it, but it's cool. It's cool to have people be like, I can't wait for it to happen, or I really want it to happen. So, I got a lot of momentum.
If people want a series, to like sit down and watch and binge, like Trent's gonna have to not break 100 for a couple episodes here. You know what I mean? So like they should be happy that it's a grind. Like that we said, it's not just duct tape on a little boo-boo. We're deconstructing the whole thing. We are full on.
Your sayings are just way off tonight. Duct tape on a boo-boo? It's like, what are we even doing here?
So what I wanted to say was like duct tape on like a hole in a boat, but I just couldn't think of that like word. So I kind of combined it with
duct tape on a boo-boo would be overkill.
It would get the job done. It just would probably end up with like some sort of infection.
That's what I'm saying. Like you'd be holding it fucking nothing would get out of that cut.
If you saw somebody's kid go by with duct tape on their skin, those parents would be arrested.
People definitely want a Breaking 100 series, and I'm here to tell them I'm likely going to deliver a series of Breaking 100 because, like, I know we dance around it. I've played one round, and it's just like we got to keep it moving. So it's going to be a series.
And get ready to watch some footage, right? Like we were talking about how we're going to release it, and like they have a ton of footage from Trent's like breaking down of the swing. So that's going to be like an unbelievable episode, and then we're going to get right into these rounds, man. Like. We're just going to try and break 100. Like, that's just what's going to happen. That's the series. Trent's going to just try and break 100, and we're going to film it, and we're going to keep putting them out until he just does it. So either hop on board or just, see you later. Hasta mañana. Au revoir.
People are into it.
You guys watch the Formula 1 show?
For the good guys of golf.
You guys watch the Formula 1
No, I need to watch the Formula 1 show. I heard it's awesome.
It's a great show.
Fucking fantastic with PH's
Yeah, it's really,
things.
really good.
Shout out Phil Mickelson for winning the PGA Championship. Fucking fantastic.
Shame what happened.
I watched the
this weekend.
Monte Carlo.
I was thinking the same thing.
The whole.
Right, I'm now.
It's
a
crazy.
fan
I
of
just
Formula
know.
1.
It's just crazy that I know Formula 1 now because I watch a Netflix show. I played the video game. It's just fun. It's just a fun. It's just a fun sport. It's a fun sporting event. I like the accents. I like the drama. I just like everything about it. I think it's very, very insane that these guys go that fast, and they're
different type of.
You want to talk about athletes?
It's like
their fucking hand-eye coordination. You don't think so, man?
Yeah.
Oh,
Max.
They're doing stuff that I can't even fathom.
No, I think
it's got to be athletic, man.
Size.
You can't
Just
stick
like
your fat ass in that fucking thing. Isn't going to be an
offensive lineman? No,
come on. Sorry to be blunt, but you ain't getting in a fucking.
Frankie took that F1 attack so seriously that he called Lurch a fat ass who could not get in an F1 car.
Frankie's been at me all show here. I don't know. Frankie's just always got beat. Just a little pig.
I'm hot, dude. I'm hot. I'm fucking hot, man. We gotta end the show. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's probably like a little like. It's not an opponent.
Yeah, I understand.
There's something going on.
Nothing wrong with that. We've gone through a lot of stuff, but PGA was awesome. LTP was awesome. Trent's going to break 100. It's going to be awesome. We'll be back in theory on Thursday. We obviously want to put out a quick reaction show because this is an iconic win. So we hope you have a lovely week. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.